I would like to call the Blair Township Board of Trustees regular meeting of October 13th, 2020 to order. Would you please join me with the pledge? I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Bye, Wendy. Good night. Roll call.
Please. Present. Campbell.
Here.
Zeitz.
Here.
Wolfgang.
Here.
Kutra.
Here.
Fitzpatrick.
Here.
Flanschein.
Here. Brief public input. Is there anybody here tonight that would like to address the board?
This is on, I take it? Or, well, maybe I don't need it.
Yeah.
All right, I'll use my best acting voice. I'm Josie Ballinger. And, did you want to turn? I'm sorry, did you want to
No,
turn?
you're good.
Okay. I'm Josie Ballinger, and I am running for the Traverse City Area Public Schools Board of Education. I'm a fifth-generation Michigander, originally from Lansing, where I attended public schools most of my childhood. And I now have two children in TCAP schools, one at Central Grade and the other at West Middle School. Professionally, I have worked for a nonpartisan congressional agency for the last 18 years called the Government Accountability Office, GAO, where we evaluate the effectiveness of federal agencies, programs, and policies and make recommendations for improvement. The work is methodical, research-based, and produces results that are publicly reported. I've also volunteered in the classroom for 6 years to boost children's reading, spelling, and math skills, and that's given me a lot of insight to the challenges that our teachers and students face on a daily basis. I also have public and nonprofit board experience, so I am familiar with the oversight roles that one would expect of a board member, and I have been attending TCAP's board meetings since the last election nearly 2 years ago. I'm running a campaign focused on the classroom, community, and trust, and I have a well-developed website that identifies specific priorities for each of those areas. So, for example, in support of the classroom, I would love to see TCAPS develop a set of benchmarks that are easily accessible to the public about the students' academic performance, their social emotional well-being, the teachers' morale, and so on, and make that information available to you as taxpayers so that you can see how your schools are performing. I have a fairly unique name, first and last, but as long as you know how to spell it, you will find me on Facebook or my website or email. It's Josie, Josey. Ballinger is Ballenger. So everything is consistent. Josie Ballinger for TCAPS at .com or at gmail.com or Facebook, just Josie Ballinger for TCAPS. So that's it. I am happy to take any questions, and I've left a few flyers over here in case you want to pick them up afterwards.
I looked at your website today. Very well put together.
Oh, thank you.
Easy to follow, very informative,
Thank you.
very nice.
Thanks. Appreciate it. Yep, and I'll just add there are 6 people running for 3 seats. So 3 incumbents are running and 3 non-incumbents, including me. And I'm the only one who has a website.
Very good, thank you. Good.
All right,
Thank
thanks
you.
everybody.
Thanks, Josie.
Thank you.
Josie, can I ask what township you live in?
I'm in Garfield.
Garfield?
Yep, so Stone Ridge subdivision
Yep.
near
Yep.
Sam's Club.
Yep.
Yep, but I have knocked on doors in Blair.
Nice. Any other public input? Approval of the agenda.
I would move to approve the agenda as presented.
Support.
It's been moved and supported to approve the agenda as presented. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Declaration of conflict of interest. Anybody have any conflict with any item on the agenda tonight? Presentations and special reports. Grand Traverse County Commissioners Report. I'll be honest, I did just notice a missed phone call on my cell phone from Brad Jewett. So it's possible he may be here at the end of the meeting. I didn't listen to the voicemail before this meeting started. So. Community Police Officer.
Hello, Matt Kraszewski, Blair Township Community Police Officer, Community Police Report for September 2020. My stats: arrests 3, citations 8, complaints 64, traffic crashes 2, warrants attained 2. On 9/10, there was a trailer in the trailer park that was shot up by a BB gun or pellet gun 15 times, and it all centered around this, I think he's about 12 years old. His window and the window shot all up. So that was concerning. I couldn't figure out who did it. There were no leads or anything. Luckily, it came from the neighbor's backyard, the trajectory of the shots, but I know that kid there, and he's not the type that would do that. So I couldn't figure that out. I do have a meeting with, I just talked to Amy, ironically, who's the manager, and we're gonna have a meeting. She wants to set up something, some sort of community thing in there, where they're gonna try to police things and look around, like a neighborhood watch she wants to set. So, and her and I to have more communication, so that's good. And ironically, that happened today. On September 23rd, I executed 2 search warrants for cell phones and computers and electronics, and an arrest warrant out in Long Lake Township for a 49-year-old man who was stalking a 17-year-old girl that he worked with all throughout this summer. Usually, I've been doing this for 15 years, I've never had a case like this go this far. Usually if I call them and say, hey, will you stop, will you leave them alone, they do. This guy did not. And it got to the point where the parents, in the early fall, they drove down to wherever she's at in college and picked her up, brought her home. They were so scared, they were so worried. So we got a felony warrant for him, where I did, and picked him up, and he's released and has a GPS tether, so hopefully he stops doing what he's doing. He did it back in 2005, almost the same circumstances, so went to prison. So he's a naughty person.
That's scary.
Any questions? Tracy? I heard you had some questions.
No, I'm good. Thank you. I think you touched them all earlier.
And for those of you who don't know, today is his birthday. So happy birthday to you,
Thank you.
Matt Kraszewski. We appreciate you.
Thank you for the tacos and the party.
Thank you, Matt.
Yep.
Grand Traverse County Road Commissioner.
Hello, Andy Merrick, Grand Traverse County Road Commission. I think it's my next to last meeting as road commissioner. November is going to be my last meeting with you guys as a commissioner. I hope, if you guys wish, I could still be doing other things.
So does your commission appoint somebody to your seat?
No, the County Board of Commissioners has the opportunity to fill it for the 1 month, or they can wait and fill the seat, because my term was up. Normally it was going to be up at the end of this month, or the end of this year anyways. So they may just wait till January for the seat to be refilled.
And that's appointed by the county
Board of
commissioners?
Commissioners. It's been an interesting month and a half or so here with things going on in Grand Traverse County. The Road Commission, we've got a group organized against the millage requests that we have. There's a bunch of misinformation being spread around. We've been accused of not being very transparent. From day one I've been on the Road Commission, we've been able to go onto the website, see our budget, see our project lists. Sometimes they're a little bit later on getting up, but they're up there. We've showed what we've done. I believe, at least I know 3 townships get communicated with on a fairly regular basis about what we're doing on the issues that we have. I believe that we're fairly responsive as a board, so I think some of the information that's coming out from these folks who are opposed to the millage is not accurate. I'm not here advocating for or against. I'm just saying that you got to look at what's being said and take it for a grain of salt. Bluff Road has been an interesting one as well. I don't know if you saw in the paper today, we spent a little bit of time out there with some of the residents. None of the elected officials decided to come down and chat with us. They did have a person from their office there. I believe it's their assessor was there. We talked with the residents of the homeowners association who has, it's kind of weird. You've got a road, you've got property, then you've got another piece of property. This piece of property is not attached to this piece of property, it's a separate piece. So you're supposed to have access to your property. So our contention has been, well, you've got access to your property from up above the road up there. They're saying, well, we have another piece of property here. The problem is some of that property that they have there is no longer property because it's now underwater. So how much, what is the requirements that we have to get that property or that make that road or make it accessible to their property? How much money do you spend? There's a pedestrian path in Petoskey that's failed. Closer to the water, not as high up. And the estimates were $10 million to fix that section of bike path. That's not a road, that's a bike. Doesn't need to be built to the same standards that the roads do. So we're talking, the quick off the cuff estimate from our engineering staff is about $2.5 million to make that roadway safe for vehicular traffic on both lanes. The average daily traffic on that road is less than 300 a day. So there's not a lot of traffic going on that road. $2.5 million is a lot of money. That's more than we're spending on part of Hammond that we're completely tearing up and putting back down, putting a new culvert in. It's a lot of money for a piece of road that doesn't get a lot of traffic. So as a county road commissioner, I have to look at the entire road network. I know there's roads that you guys would love me to take care of that we just don't have the money for. And to see us spend that money out there, then the rest of the county goes, well, why aren't we getting taken care of? So we've got to look at the needs of the whole county. It is important to me that we do something or work with them to somehow make it so they can get to their properties that they can't access. So it might just be one of the options we had come up with was maybe putting a gate in there that only the homeowners association and fire EMS could get to, because if someone's on their property and gets hurt, it's quite a hike to get to them to provide aid. So there's a bunch of things that we're looking at. We're going to discuss that at our next meeting. That's just something you guys might hear rumblings about what's happening. We haven't ignored them. I've been out there 4 times now since the road collapsed.
Might hear rumblings about?
You might hear some more.
Might?
Yeah, you might.
Didn't they just vote to not put the millage on the ballot?
The Peninsula Township did,
Yeah.
but they don't like us.
Okay.
I mean, not just recently, but.
Wait,
The Peninsula Township Board passed a resolution in opposition of the Grand Traverse County Road Commission's millage request.
they don't have any say, do they?
It's a resolution,
Yeah,
which says a message to the residents that they have no
Yeah.
faith in us.
Yeah.
Because we cut some trees down on Bluff Road, because the MDOT came to us and said, we don't want this road, we want you to take it back. And we're like, you're gonna give us money for it? Okay. So they think that it doesn't matter. They passed a resolution saying that they don't support the road millage, which is their right to do as a board. I think that they're misguided in what the reasons for it. They're the only township that we've had 2 special meetings in the 6 years I've been on the board in their township. We went out to their town hall and had a meeting about trees on Bluff Road, and we just had a special meeting yesterday. Yeah, yesterday. On Bluff Road with the homeowners association to discuss the road. So we've done a lot of work out there above and beyond what we've done anywhere else, and they say we're difficult to work with. We need to collaborate, which we can do what they want. You guys and all the other townships have been pretty okay. We understand you can't do exactly what we want, and we can come to some kind of somewhat reasonable accommodations for everybody involved. Okay, enough of that. That's kind of downy. Hammond Road. People are asking why Hammond Road is taking 6 weeks to get repaired. Because the other section got done so much quicker. They're saying that because of the contract that was hired to do it wasn't a particular one. It's a local that everyone seems to love. That's the reason for the longer project. What people don't realize, we're putting a culvert in. It's about this tall. So they had to dig down, they had to trench it out, they had to put it in, they had to put it next to the current culvert, which is this tall. Why it had to be bigger, I couldn't tell you. That's an engineering thing and a DEQ or Eagle thing. But so there's a lot of work that's going into that section that's making it go longer than just a pavement project. There's some environmental issues that we're trying to take care of with the little creek that goes through there. We're tearing up the roadbed completely and rebuilding it because there were some issues with the substrate, the surface, the bed. So it's going to take a little bit longer for that project than just a typical road reconstruction. We're just crushing shape.
When was that road done previously?
I don't know
It seems
that.
like within the last 10 years or 12 years. And then to drive over there and see that road all tore up again, it's like, wait a minute, they just
They did
this road with.
we did Hammond before I got on the road commission when they did that tunnel underneath the road and they built the road up for the train track and the worker passed on that project. That was probably 15 years ago. I'm guessing it could have been 10. It was before I was on the board, so it's at least 6. But they only did it to Lafreniere.
Correct.
We then did from Lafreniere to Garfield using Elmer's, and now we're doing from Garfield to Town Line using Reith Riley and some other companies to do they're using some other companies to do some of the work too on subsurface. And when they redid Hammond, in the spring, it's kind of like a roller coaster ride going through there. And that's because they missed some clay or some of the stuff that's underneath that's causing some issues with the drainage and the road is heaving in different spots. And I suspect that that's not going to be taken care of until that whole intersection is figured out here in the next 2 to 3 years with the ongoing east-west mobility study. Because that intersection is going to end up being rebuilt somehow, regardless of whether or not a river crossing happens. There's people who are saying that we're doing another study without anything being done. We have got phase 1 completed of the study. They came out with some recommendations. Within the next 6 months, all the traffic lights in Grand Traverse County that are under our control are going to have the new controllers put in. They're going to have the traffic light optimization done so that the lights are going to work better. And within 6 months, the scoot system, which is the I am not thinking of words today. Where they talk to each other and they change based upon what's happening, should be up and running and complete within 6 months. So that's something that came out of the studies. We need to optimize it. We took it a step further and said we're going to make it so they're automated now. I told you the word, I can't remember it. So that they're all of them that are in the row are hooked up together. They're talking to each other. They're figuring out it's adaptive. It's going to be an adaptive system. So if something happens, a traffic accident, in addition to whatever, it's going to go, oh, something's changed here, and it's going to adapt to what's going on. So in theory, going down South Airport, going down Hammond, if you stop at one light, you should be able to make it through the rest of them without having to stop. In theory. That's something that we're doing because of the study. We're going to be putting a turn lane off of Keystone, left turn lane off of Keystone, or off of Hammond onto Keystone, so you can get more traffic through that light during the peak times that we're getting some backups onto Hammond quite a ways. We're going to be building a roundabout at 4 Mile and Hammond next year under the construction. That's part of the plan for the next year's construction. As part of that survey, the study that came out. And the following year, we're going to be putting 2 traffic circles or roundabouts on Keystone. I believe it's Cass and I believe it's River Road. Which should help with everything else, getting that flow of traffic through these areas. My understanding is when Chum's Corners is redone, that section's going to be, MDOT's going to work on that. We're going to do some different things there to help get more traffic through, or we're going to might add an additional lane like we did at South Airport, where you go through to Best Buy and then you do the zipper merge to get more traffic through there. So there's things we're doing that came out of this study. We didn't do a study and said, oh, that looks great, we'll put it over here and put it up on the shelf. We're actually doing things off of that study, and we're starting to see some results from some of that stuff.
Well, before you give up your seat
Mm-hmm.
and move on to your next venture, maybe you just drop a bug in your commission's ear, with all the work that's happening over there while they're out in that area. If they could hit South Rouge Road, Blair Township would really appreciate. South Rouge Road is a mess with potholes and
yes, yeah.
Send me an email.
I will, okay.
At
And with the flow of traffic that's gonna be happening.
whatever it is, org.
Mhm.
And I will make sure I get on that.
It's really bad, and I don't complain about roads too often, but I
Right.
drove that because I'm hearing about it, and that's a meeting with me and your commission and.
Is it the
Brad.
entire road or is it a section
The
of it?
South Rouge Road section, as soon as you turn the corner where you go into, South Creek, from South Rouge to Garfield, it's bad. And I know the flow of traffic's gonna
Right.
be changing, and that road's just
So-
increasing already.
So something that I was really excited about 3 years ago, I went down to Lansing and saw at our convention, is there's an app. And I can't remember what it's called, but we're gonna be implementing here within the next 12 months. They tell me quicker than that, but government, was slow. We've got a new IT guy we hired. We're gonna have new servers, our own servers. We're gonna have an updated website. He is a GIS guy, which is the mapping stuff. And he's already done some things with our engineering staff, that they carry a tablet out onto the road, they rate the road. They report what kind of fixes can be done. Then they come back into the office. When they're doing our plans for what projects we're gonna do this year, the computer automatically looks at how much money we've got and what's gonna extend the most amount of life on the entire road system. On top of that, this app is gonna be, you've got a pothole in front of your house. You walk out with your phone, you take a picture of that pothole, it GPS locates it, you put pothole and you put the whatever other information you want on there. That goes in and gets sent into the superintendent. The superintendent assigns it to Joe. You get an alert, Joe's been assigned to take care of this. Joe comes out, looks, says, I'm gonna need some pot patch material, we're gonna go ahead and get this fixed. They go out and they get it fixed. You get a message, we put in pot patch, or we patch that pothole, things are good. That stays in our computer, in that system, until that road gets rebuilt. So we're gonna see that every 4 days, you're coming up, you got a pothole there, and we're patching it, still, so that's gonna tie into that other system. So we're gonna see what roads need to be repaired.
That's nice.
And more importantly, we're gonna be able to see if there's a section of road that maybe only 150 yards need to be taken care of, because there's something happening there. So instead of having to put out a big bid for Reith or Elmers, who seem to be the only two who we've got who are authorized vendors to take care of our roads because of issues we've had, we've got high standards. We can let some of these smaller guys come in and take care of these smaller projects so that we can get a history of them and see what kind of work they can do, which will increase our vendor list with time. Will allow us to do some of these smaller projects to reduce that pothole patch train coming out and taking care of a pothole in different areas. And if you've got residents who have issues in an area and they're reporting it on there, everybody who pulls up that app can see the history on that road of what's been requested and what's been done.
What I'm hearing is when our residents call the road commission to report things like that, the response that they're receiving from the road commission is, oh, well, you need to go through the township. You need to call your township and make your complaint with them. That's the response that I know at least 2 residents who live in South Creek Sub have
Has
been.
that just started happening, or has that been happening for a while? Because I know when Deb was there, that wasn't the
Correct.
answer.
Or Toby.
I know when Deb was there, that wasn't the answer, because even after he had left, she was the one manning the phones, and that might be something for the manager that I'll have to address, or attempt to address. We're having a meeting tomorrow on our asset management plan, outfitting.
Perfect. Take South Rouge Road on your way there.
Send me an email, send me an email or text me.
I'll text you. Okay.
I think that's all the major things. I mean, I'm really excited about the stuff that we've got going on, that we've got coming out of this study that we've done, and more importantly, the technology stuff, so that it's not gonna be any more call your township. It's gonna be that app, it's gonna be reported, it's gonna go to the superintendent's gonna send a foreman out there, or assign it to a foreman to make sure that the job gets done, and you're gonna get a response on what's happening. And then anybody, county board of commissioners, state rep, township supervisors or board, residents can look on that app and go, oh, look, there was a report here, what was done? Oh, nothing, and it's been 6 months. So when the road commission goes, we need more money, you can go, no, you're not responding to the calls. Right now, it's kind of, sometimes falls on, they'll put it in the computer, or they'll write a note to put it in the computer, and maybe, because there's the human factor. This is gonna eliminate that human factor. Also gonna free up our receptionists to be doing other things in the office that need to be taken care of too, so. It's exciting for me. Something I accomplished huge before we leave.
I appreciate you. I've appreciated you over the last 4 years as a road
Yes,
commission representative. You represent the organization well. You've never missed a meeting as far as I can remember, maybe one. But you're always responsive. You've always been available. You've always been open. You've always been honest with me.
Sometimes you didn't like what I had to say.
Sometimes when I didn't like what you had to say, but I appreciate the professional conversations and sharing
Right.
different viewpoints. And I, for one, am gonna miss you as a representative for the road commission.
Thank you. This has been a fun board to work with. You guys are open to communication. That makes it much better than you need to versus we'd like you to. Can you help us? So thank you.
And good luck to you.
Thank you. I'm gonna need that.
County Commissioner.
Sorry, I took up all your time.
That was quick, maybe I should get here late every time. Brad Jewett, Grand Traverse County Board of Commissioners, District 3. I do believe Commissioner Klaus has been reporting, as some of you know, on this Tuesday of the month, I report to Garfield and here, so I can't always make it. But anyway, that being said, I'm not sure if Commissioner Klaus reported on hazard pay last month, but if he did not, last month the Board of Commissioners did approve hazard pay for the law enforcement and correction officers.
Can you speak over the rain?
Oh, hey, I do want to say happy birthday, Mr. K. You've not aged a bit since I met you, so it must be the hair. But anyway, last week we did approve a credit to our townships for the CPOs for a 2-month window there. The equivalent was $14,146 per office or so. I'm not sure all the townships have taken advantage of that, but I do know some of them have right now. So anyway, that was a good win for the townships and everything with scheduling changes with the officers and everything. Last week we did approve, Parks and Rec came to us and wanted an ad hoc committee for a senior center discussion about building a new senior center. We did approve that ad hoc committee, and I will be the person from the board level sitting on that committee and everything. And hopefully we can work towards the goal of getting a new senior center built for our area here. This last week, the pavilions came to us in regards to their comprehensive financial plan, which included the discussion of bonding for their MERS retirement. It was a pretty good discussion. They are going to go back and rework some things and give us some more information on it. But one thing we did find out, right now Medicaid would reimburse up to 52% of that bond over the course of time and everything. But 2017, Medicaid would have reimbursed 100% of that, but they've done that. So kind of an interesting change there. But they came to us almost like they really wanted to shove it down our throats that day and have us approve it, but there was too many questions that weren't being answered. So they got to go back and do some more studying and everything, and they will get back to us. I think maybe on next week's agenda was the proposed plan.
Brad, I don't quite understand. Medicaid would
reimburse a portion of that bond over, I think it was 10 or 15
for
years.
retirement for their employees.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, and in 2017, they would have, over the course of that 10 or 15 year window, I think it was 15 years, but don't quote me for sure because we talked about a lot of different years, they would have reimbursed 100% of that stuff. So just with the programs that Medicaid offers and everything.
Wow.
So it's when they pay, from what I understood, when they pay for a person to stay there, then a percentage of that payment has to go to reimburse that retirement and everything,
Okay.
that pension. So
Interesting.
yeah, interesting facts, yeah. But like I said, it was a very good discussion, but the commissioners as a whole had a lot more questions than what they could actually answer. Plus, we wanted to see some different ideas from them and everything. So one of them ideas being they have somewhere between $8 and $9 million in their cash reserves right now, and they want to bond for about $6 million. So we're one of the plans that we want them to present to us is taking some of their cash reserve and put down on that pension and then maybe bonding a smaller portion. So, but there's a few questions that weren't answered or anything, so that'll be a continuation of discussion here in the very near future, I'm sure. Today we had a joint meeting with Leelanau County in regards to the airport and their governance model and everything. There's been talks about changing over to an authority, and we do need the permission from both boards to do that. There were some questions in regards to the articles of incorporation and the wording and everything like that, so they have to tweak some of that stuff, but the plans are to come back to us here in the very near future and present again to see if we can kind of have all the questions and concerns taken care of from both boards and see if we feel that's the right way to go and everything. So a lot of discussion. We've been discussing it for about a year now. We've had about a 6-month window, 7-month window there where we could not meet jointly very easily, and now it's worked out where we can. So Leelanau County is going to meet and go over some of their thoughts and concerns. We're going to meet and go over some of our thoughts and concerns, and we're going to meet together and go over it again and stuff. So, but very good discussion and everything. And the consensus today, we could not vote because it was a study session, but the consensus was a majority of the commissioners on both boards that are definitely in favor of the authority. The benefits outweigh the risk and everything. So. And last but not least, we are open for business. The county is open for business. I know I just came from Garfield, and every time I hear from Garfield, there's some difficulties there with doing business, but it is by appointment only. But if you show up without an appointment, the county staff has been more than willing to accommodate. There are some hiccups with it, but you know, the last 8 months have been a hiccup for a lot of people and everything, and we're doing the best we can and everything, but it's been going very well. So 1 or 2 hiccups that we have is probably not very good, but the reality of it is that we have a couple hiccups now and then, and but we are open for business. We're conducting business. We're doing business every day in every single department. So when constituents say they can't get in and do business, that's very inaccurate, because they can. So, and with that being said, the Gulf Center will be open on election day, since that is a polling station that will be open to the public. We heard rumors out there that people think it's not going to be open, but it is going to be open. It is a polling station. So, but with that being said, does anybody have any questions or comments or thoughts or anything? I apologize for not meeting for coming here the last few months and everything. Commissioner Klaus been filling in, but it is difficult to try and get both of them that are scheduled at 6 o'clock sometimes. So
I think it's nice that you guys rotate, because he represents part of this township as well, and as you do. And so
yeah,
it's
and you know,
nice.
initially our goal was to try and alternate every other month and everything, and I think Ron's reported probably the last 3 months, maybe 4 months, and I've not been here and stuff. So, but I intentionally went to Garfield first night so I can stick around for the meeting. So if anybody's got any questions or thoughts or comments, or want to just talk to me afterwards, I'll be available.
I just want to say one comment, and it's just my personal opinion, but I was very sad to see the commissioners exclude the 911 dispatchers and the hazard pay. 911 dispatchers are the #1 emergency responder contact. And granted, they're not out on the streets, but you know, they weren't working from home. And they were working long shifts, and they're working 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, in an office, with risk, with exposure, with police officers coming in and picking up warrants. And 911 dispatchers, in my opinion, are first responders, and I was very disappointed to see the commissioners exclude them. Just my opinion.
That's fine, and I respect that. I mean, it was a great discussion and everything, and that was the consensus we came to, was not to include dispatch at this time. It's, I'm sure we'll be seeing more of them here in the near future from different departments and everything. So,
and I also would want, for clarity, that was federal CARES money, which was set up by the federal government, which specifically listed who was considered a first responder.
Mm-hmm.
And 911 dispatchers was one of those 5 groups of people.
Yep.
So it was money that was, if you guys wouldn't have taken, somebody else did, every other department did, and it was there and it was available, and that's.
Yeah, and I'm sure you've listened to the meeting and everything.
Oh, yeah.
And
I mean, how we came about our decision, that it is, I mean, it is what it is right now and stuff, but I'm sure that it will come back in front of us again and stuff from what I'm hearing and everything, so, but I will definitely, take that weight in mind when we have it discussed again and everything, so.
Yep, if they could have dispatched from home, that might be a little bit of a game changer, but the fact is they couldn't. And that was the one group of county employees whose schedule did not change. And they were reporting to work every single day,
Yep.
my opinion. Okay,
Well, thanks.
Thanks, Brad.
That's why we're doing the report, so we can hear that and everything and take it back to our board, so I do appreciate that. And, like always, I think most of you probably have my phone number, but my email is on the county website and everything, and feel free to reach out to me at any time to, whether through email or call or whatever, and discuss your concerns and everything, so that's why we're there, is to represent you guys and everything. And, right what I think about it, Garfield board told me to tell Blair board hi when I was leaving there, so. But anyway, I'll be around, so if anybody has any questions afterwards. Thank you.
thanks, Brad. Treasurer's report.
All right. General fund, $3,489,589,589. Public safety fund is $610,755. Ambulance fund is $644,917. Metro Act fund is $77,553. Liquor law enforcement fund is $30,036. CARES Act is $48,053. Sewer fund is $1,895,691. Water fund is $2,261,300 and 88 cents. I don't know. Current tax collection is $221,756. Payroll clearing is at a credit of $24,871. And milfoil fund is $8,387. Now, I want to bring this to everybody's attention so that I made a mistake, but as all trustees, I want this to be a learning experience for all of us, because everybody should be looking at the different cash summaries. And if you look at on the second page in the pooled savings, the public safety fund is at a deficit, and so is the ambulance fund. The payroll clearing doesn't really matter because it's where the payroll ends at the end of the month. So sometimes the payroll is done before, so the payroll clearing is just a month-end thing. But the other one should never, ever be at a deficit. And this has been since July. And I just caught it Friday, and Linetti caught it today. And so I just want to say, if it's ever at a deficit, come tell me and say what the heck is going on, because it should never be at a deficit. So I have an email, and I just checked it right before I came here, to the auditors to see if we need to then, because ultimately what we're doing is using the other funds to fund EMS and fire, and that therefore the other fund money is not getting interest like the EMS and fire are doing in the MBIA account. So I have an email into the auditors, but I haven't heard back yet to say what should we do to fix this. So just an FYI, if you ever see a credit, it's not good. And that I have overdrawn in that, so just let me know.
Thank you.
Announcements and correspondence. I'll start. Cleanup Day was another huge success. American Waste billed 320 compacted yards of debris and 4 roll-offs. And I'm not sure the amount that Grandpa's garage with their scrap bin, what their yardage was, but I personally think that was the most scrap metal I've seen since we re-implemented these cleanup days. I couldn't believe the amount of appliances coming through. And I was kind of relating it maybe to COVID, when people got their $1,200 stimulus money. They're like, yeehaw, I can buy my dishwasher. I mean, there were more dishwashers and refrigerators that came through than I've seen ever, I think. Tomorrow, I signed up for the MTA on the Road webinar. It's an all-day webinar with multiple different classes. It's all virtual this year because they're still not meeting in person. It's from 10 to 4. Tracy offered to set up the laptop and the projector out here, so if anybody wants to jump in at some point for a class here or there at some point throughout the day. It didn't cost us anything because we signed up for that premium MTA education plan. So, yeah, that will be rolling tomorrow from 10 to 4 out here.
Except one thing, I like it when we go to Chris Mountain. I could give my donuts, I can't give my donuts.
Well, you could just.
How about
bring-
you bring the donuts?
I'm not quite sure if I'm registered, I'm not quite sure if I'm doing it at home or here. Yeah, I might. I thought I was just got donuts off first and go, sure.
And I had signed up like a month ago. It's called Michigan Water School. It's through Eagle. It's a 5-part program, 2-hour classes on water. And I attended my first class last week, and the topic was water quantity. And I came out and told Lisa, you know, at first I thought, why am I doing this? Well, I'm doing it because the topics are water quantity, water quality, water financing and planning, and water policy. Very applicable to us. And honestly, at first I was like, after my first class, I was so excited afterwards. I felt like I was back in high school, learning basic geology and ecology, and I learned more in 2 hours, or relearned what I learned really in probably junior high, and just have totally forgotten about, with water tables and where our water comes from and the importance of it. So I can shoot everybody an email because I'm signed up, and I can share these classes, especially when it gets to water financing and planning, which is November 5th. If anybody wants to jump in and watch one of these classes. And again, this is offered through the Michigan State University Extension Program. You get a little certificate for completion, but it's free. So all of these online things now are free for us, which is really nice. That's all I have.
I sent out an email for the newsletter, to get submissions in by the 30th so that I can put it together for the November 10th board meeting for approval. So if anybody has anything for the newsletter, then yeah, November 10th. And then going along with the cleanup is getting a spring cleanup so we can put it in the newsletter.
Well, we'll have to do that next month since we didn't amend the agenda.
Right, I'm just saying you might have to reach out to,
I've got the available dates.
oh, okay.
Yep. I don't know them off the top of my head. Yeah, we have those.
I just thought of that when you were saying
That the
that.
haulers are available. The haulers gave us available dates because so many communities are doing these now. So they're,
Yeah, that just came to my mind.
How many cleanup days do you use, 2 or 1?
2. Is that it?
That's all I have.
Anybody else have anything? Consent calendar. The purpose of the consent calendar is to expedite business by grouping non-controversial items together to be dealt with in one board motion without discussion. Any member of the board may ask that any item of the consent calendar be removed and placed elsewhere on the agenda for full discussion. Such requests will be automatically respected.
I'd like to, remove them, or I just have two minor changes to the minutes. Page 1, under Grand Traverse County Commissioner Report, should say, that the commission has abolished the Affordable Housing Trust Fund and replaced it with, I forgot the word with. And then on page 2, in the motion to hold off on the purchase of the Luann Lane tax foreclosed property, I forgot the E on Luann.
Do you want to make a motion to approve it with
Oh.
those two minor typos?
Yeah. I move to approve the consent agenda with two minor changes to the September 8th meeting minutes.
Typo changes. Been moved and supported to approve the consent calendar as presented with the two minor typo changes to the September 8th meeting minutes. Any discussion? Roll call?
Fleischheim,
Yes.
Campbell,
Yes.
Wolfgang,
Yes.
Zeiss,
Yes.
Kuchera,
Yes.
Place,
Yes.
Fitzpatrick.
Yes.
Unfinished old business, item A, Grand Traverse County interlocal agreement for designated assessor. I will make the motion to approve resolution 2020-16, the interlocal agreement for Grand Traverse County designated assessor as presented in your packet.
Support.
It's been moved and supported to approve resolution 2020-16, interlocal agreement for Grand Traverse County designated assessor. Any discussion? Roll call vote.
Fitzpatrick,
Yes.
Kuchera,
Yes.
Zeiss,
Yes.
Place,
Yes.
Fleischheim,
Yes.
Wolfgang,
Yes.
Campbell.
Yes.
New business, item A, public hearing. Proposed amendments to the Blair Township zoning ordinance, amendment number 104-05-20-01, to amend sections 16.04 and 1608, amendments regarding fences and recreational vehicle storage. Postcards were sent out. Notice of this hearing was posted and printed in the Record Eagle.
Yep, but no postcards.
No postcard, okay. So I'll close the regular meeting and open up the public hearing at
6:49.
6:49. Is there anybody from the public who has any comments or concerns regarding the zoning amendments? Have we received any written pros or cons?
Nothing that I've received for
I-
either amendment.
I have not either.
I mean, we had David Gann come in, planning commission. He might have sent an email. He had come in and spoke at the planning commission level, I think 2 times or possibly 3 times,
For or against?
for the fence amendment, because he has an issue with a very nice fence he put around his tiki bar, and it's 6 foot high, but because the tiki bar is in his front yard, it was not permitted. Even though it was not within setback, but it was his front yard.
Which was Lakeside?
Yes, and we have a lot of issues with that mostly regarding corner lot properties. There's a lot of arguments and angry people when it comes to that.
Why is it 4 feet?
I believe that was for sight distance. Because if you're like say you're pulling up to 633 on Vance, and the corner house there has got 6-foot fence, and the property line all the way up to their front property line, you're gonna have half of your car sticking out into
Yeah,
the
that's true.
roadway before you can see if there's oncoming traffic.
That makes sense.
So in the changes, we allow 6 feet in the front if they don't go within the setback. If they want to go in the setback, it's only 4 feet.
Was Matt checking on correspondence or something?
I believe so. I think maybe David Dan might have emailed. I hear something printing. It's either printing on an email or could be a funny picture, I'm not sure. And both of these amendments are things that we've been dealing with for ongoing issues. Oh,
This was the neighbor that they were having an excellent dispute, so he
No.
decided that this is the day.
Okay.
That's the only one I've received from this gentleman here.
This went on phone call, right?
Yeah, they got into an argument over their lake property, and then he called DEQ on his neighbor, and then all of a sudden he called us and wanted to complain about the fences, and here we are. So,
They usually don't jump the fence.
Wow. I'm gonna share this with you both since you're both named in it.
they are?
It's
Yeah,
just an-
I know you're not.
Just an FYI. Okay, so we've definitely kept this open long enough for public input. I'm gonna close this public hearing so we can have a discussion at 6:53.
Dennis, was there any public comment at the planning commission meeting? The minutes don't say.
No, there was not.
I don't like the part that we're striking, all fences shall be constructed with finished side exposed in a manner which serves to enhance the aesthetic appearance of the neighborhood and surrounding area. We don't care what they look like? Is that what we're saying?
No.
No, it's just the finished side, so a lot of people, they want the finished side surrounded it, and they're looking at it out their back door, and we don't allow them to do that. Some people like, think that what we may call not the finished side, but we show the 2x4s or whatnot, they paint them different colors and it kind of looks cool. So we've had lots of people, well, why can't I do it this way? What's the finished side? How do you explain the finished side? And it just seems like we just keep regulating more and more and more and more, and it's like, when do we stop? We don't want to build them out of pallet wood, or pallets, obviously, but, I mean, just telling them what way they can face it is kind of what we were trying to get away from.
For me, the key word are aesthetic appearance of neighborhood and surrounding area. And I think right off the top of my head, where somebody got away with putting the unfinished side on the outside of their fence, which is not an aesthetically appealing character. It sticks out, it looks terrible. I mean, that's my opinion.
So that's what we're getting
Right.
at.
When they look out their window, I'll bet you the people that put up the fence probably think it looks great.
Yeah, the people that put it up. Because they're looking at the finished side where
And
the
that's
neighbors are
usually-
looking at the unfinished side and every person that drives by is looking at the unfinished side.
And that's usually what we hear, why, you know, why should I pay $2,000 for a new fence? So my neighbors can look at the better side.
And then we've had no paint them, like with those stain, and they stain the boards that you would call the unfinished, different colors, and it looks actually pretty cool, but I mean, not everybody's gonna. do
On the
that.
outside?
Well, it'd be the unfinished side, if you will. So they'll stain their fence and they stain the actual unfinished boards, if you will, a different color, and it kind of makes it look kind of cool. But not everybody's gonna do that. So,
Yeah, I have mine with the unfinished side in, facing my backyard.
most people do.
Well, because that's our ordinance.
Well, but I'm just
So good.
I'm following rules once.
Well, that's a change. I
Yeah,
agree.
well, I'm just thinking I wouldn't like my neighbors to have it the opposite,
So you would like the rough side?
facing me.
You know, I've seen both, and personally, I don't think it makes much difference to me. I like rough sawn wood anyway, so it, you know, it's in the eye of the beholder.
Right.
It really is.
It
It
really
really is.
Define finished side.
Well, that's the
So-
thing.
Exactly.
You got people who fight you tooth and nail over it, and
Yeah.
when you said, anybody ever takes you to court, well, define finished, I mean, it's just, you know, it's just.
Yeah, well, like
One
with
more
the
thing that we
PVC.
fight with people over, you know, it's just like, to what end is what.
And aesthetic is another one.
Yeah,
And when it's up and finished, it's, both sides are finished.
Both sides are finished.
it's all opinion.
And it is, that's,
Yeah, personally, I like the unfinished side in because, as I said, it gives me more things to hang my birdhouses and.
yeah, me too.
nonsense, right.
And I
Like the
think it
post.
looks better.
But because the
Oh,
post is
yeah.
on the outside,
But
I wouldn't
that's
be able
my
to hang
opinion.
anything on
Keyword opinion.
Correct, so for me personally, I guess, because this has come to me, us as a board, but us as individuals have opinions, that's my personal opinion, but I guess tonight I'm going to, this is the planning commission's recommendation, and that's a board, and we have instilled our trust, and I've got our ordinance enforcement and our zoning person who supports this, so my personal opinion's trumped, and for me, I'm gonna vote in favor of this. So I'll put a motion out, so basically, if we wanna have more discussion. I will make I'll make the motion to approve the zoning amendment and I want, these are gonna be two separate topics. So we'll discuss recreational vehicle storage as a separate. I'll make the motion to approve the zoning amendment to section 16.04 fences.
As recommended.
As recommended by the planning commission, which I want to be specific. I'll make the motion to approve the zoning amendment 104-05-20-01 to amend section 16.04, letters F, H, I, and J, as presented to us from the planning commission.
Support.
That was my motion, and there is support for us, and the loon's calling, but no, you two. Any further discussion then?
Does our our zoning ordinance does still state what, there's requirements on what fences are
Yes.
built? Yes.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's
yeah.
what we use, but yeah.
Yes.
Well,
Yeah.
materials would be-
That was not
Materials
changed.
that are
Yes.
for fencing,
So not pallet wood?
not pallet wood,
Right.
not
It
sections of
spells out
garage
the
door,
specifics.
right, no,
Seen some cows.
So there's
Sections of
not
garage door.
fences.
firewood.
That's surprising. Cool pallet fences.
Any further discussion? We have a motion and support. We're ready for a roll call.
Sights,
Yes.
Kuchera,
Yeah.
Place,
Yes.
Campbell,
No,
Flanschein,
Yes.
Fitzpatrick,
Yes.
Wolfgang. I don't know, at first I was like, I don't know, we don't care what they look like. I guess as long as we're still requiring certain materials. Yes,
And I just want to say, it doesn't say we don't care what they look like.
well,
With the finished side exposed in a manner which
I know.
serves. So we're talking, and again, after conversation tonight, and what's finished, what's not finished, what's. So that's not, it's not
and who
that,
judges
we
what?
don't care, yeah. Okay. I'm just catching this with my agenda. And just to cover us, you guys, we're gonna open up the public hearing again for opportunity for any public to discuss this zoning amendment. Specifically section 16.08 of recreational vehicles. So let's open up the public hearing at 7:02. And this is specifically for the amendment of section 1608, recreational vehicles, number 2, which is very simple. It's just taking out residents of the township and replacing it with property owners. Number 3, very simple. It's a residential lot with a primary dwelling shall not be connected. And number 5 is the new recommendation from the planning commission. So the public hearing is open. Is there anybody from the public that would like to comment on this specific zoning amendment? And again, same as our fence, proper notification was posted on the website, on the doors, and in the record eagle. And have you received any?
Nothing on this.
Oh, it's got nothing, okay.
so they have to have a permit to do that?
Well, it's not, I guess, not really a permit.
For the vacant,
Hang on a second, we'll close our public hearing and then we'll have our discussion. We're gonna go ahead and close the public hearing at 7:04. Okay. Discussion?
So does this require you to get a permit to do?
It's an administrative
Administrative
application filled out and reviewed.
Well, how do you revoke something you don't give them then?
How do we do that?
Revoke something you don't give them?
they get a use permit. It's not a
Okay.
land use permit, but it's a use permit
Okay.
as administrative review.
Does it
And then
cost
that way,
anything?
fire and EMS is notified that there's going to be somebody occupying the
Okay.
trailer on a vacant property, and it'll give us a little bit of cheese anyway. It'll also make it so that, I mean, even though it's only $100 for administrative review, you're not gonna just get willy-nilly, you know, people all the time want to do that because it's gonna cost you $100, so it's just like.
I know, this was kind of specific and really came to the attention with one specific property that I'm aware of. People downstate They're still working, they plan on retiring soon, they bought a beautiful lot on Silver Lake, and they have a beautiful camper, and they were bringing it up and spending long weekends in their camper. So technically, we didn't allow that with our old zoning ordinance, which really makes no sense. I mean, they're eventually gonna retire and build their home on their lot on Silver Lake, but our zoning did not allow them to do that. This does. And it also allows us to know that they're there, again, for emergency services and fire and stuff like that.
But they don't have to, because it says occupancy is limited to 14 days consecutively. They don't have to come back every time to get and pay $100.
No, the administrative review is gonna be good for a year,
Okay,
you know, so that, again, I mean, it's not, you know, we're not doing it to just kind of like
Right.
suck the money out of them,
Right.
but we want to be sure that you got serious people and
Right.
not just, you know, a group of teenagers
Yeah.
from, that know, you know, those parents or whatever with the
Yeah.
vacant lot that they're gonna come a haul up here.
yeah,
It has to be owner occupied and they can't cause trouble, which the people on the lot, on the lake lot were, the neighbors said very good neighbors, they were
Mhm.
quiet and everything else, but, you know, if we let them, then we have to let everybody else.
So they can't come up for summer and stay?
They can now.
Well, we're not gonna.
Only
go
14
check.
days.
Only 14 days?
Yeah, I mean, that's gonna be tough to.
They just move it.
Right, right.
Just scooch it over a little bit?
Yeah,
2 inches.
yeah, I got an acre and a half, I could do that.
Well, and most of the time, it's gonna be, you know, I mean, you come up for 2-week period, and if you're coming up for the whole summer, you know, I would think that you could probably afford to, like, I don't know, build a cabin, if you can afford to take the whole summer off.
Yeah, you wouldn't want to be a whole year with just electricity only, because then only
Right,
electricity
right,
be
you're
hooked
gonna
up.
have a, yeah.
No water,
Paying
you know,
for
you have
money.
to buy water, and where you gonna go food, so, yeah.
Did you just say what I thought you think you
Yeah.
said?
That's why you go places like the RV park locally, yeah.
Okay.
I got another question on this, okay? To store it, it would be, okay, to run the request, not stored within required front or side yard. So if you have an RV, you're supposed to, during the wintertime, store it in the back, but not on the,
You know, the setback.
in the setback, when they required front or side yard setback.
So side yard setback would be 10 yards, the rear would be 10 feet.
10 yard, what?
10 feet.
From the side.
10 feet, okay, then I'm okay, yeah.
So you could
If I
park on
wanted
your
to.
neighbor's property line basically as well.
You know, with me, I'm just leaving my RV at Turtle Lake, it's $50 for the whole winter. It's not even worth towing it back, you know, going back and forth.
So that's 10 feet off your property
So,
line.
yeah.
I'm gonna go ahead and make a motion to approve the zoning ordinance amendment, specifically section 16.08, recreational vehicle storage, section number 235, as presented to us
Support.
from the planning commission. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Please,
Yes.
Wolfgang,
Yes.
Zeitz,
Yes.
Kuchera,
Yes,
Flanschein,
Yes.
Fitzpatrick,
yes.
Campbell.
Yes.
Item B, land division. Land division number 2020-06. Parent parcel land division number 520-025-10. Zoned in the manufactured home. District property address is 4644 Luann Lane. I'll make the motion to approve land division number 2020-06. Land division number 520-025-10, 4644 Luann Lane.
Support.
I was trying to think if I needed to add anything to that, but that's good. Roll call.
Campbell,
Yes.
Sunshine,
Yes.
Kuchar,
Yes.
Blake. Yes. Wolfgang,
Yes.
Zeit,
Yes.
Fitzpatrick.
Yes.
Item C, renewal of Munetrix agreement.
This is the software that we used to report on our city, villages, and townships revenue sharing. So we get that extra revenue sharing. And we get reimbursed by the state, I believe it's 50%.
So instead of 4,400, it'd be 2,200. We get reimbursed.
We pay
Per
it
year,
up front
yep.
and then they reimburse us.
Yep. So this is, we did a 3-year agreement to begin with, and this would be for another 3 years.
I'd make the recommendation to approve the renewal of the Munetrix agreement. Support.
It's been moved and supported to approve the renewal of the Munetrix agreement. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Wolfgang,
Yes.
Kuchar,
Yes.
Blake. Fitzpatrick,
Yes.
Campbell,
Yes.
Sunshine,
Yes.
Zeit.
Yes.
Item D, CARES Act grant.
Okay, I just wanted to go over the 3 CARES Act grant. And I think, because Linetti brought it to my attention on Lisa's, that we're gonna have to change the public safety, public health payroll reimbursement, because hers is divided into 3 sections, not 2 that I divided them to. So on the number 2, okay, let's start with number 1. Number 1 is 13,000. We took care of that. After we paid out, we got instructions on how to do it. So we paid them a little bit more, but they're worth it.
No, what we did was we wrote them the check for the $1,000 because initially we thought it was $1,000 upfront tax.
Right, and that's how we were told by two of our auditors and the Department of Treasury when I called them
Initially.
But 2 days after it closed,
Then they came out with the rules on how to pay it out.
Right.
So what it was taxes weren't taken out of the $1,000 that they received, so.
yeah, we covered their taxes, because that's how we read it.
Well, they covered their share.
No, we did, the board did.
No, remember, we wrote it for
1,000.
enough,
Enough to cover the taxes.
yes.
So they might have got.
So they actually took home 1,000.
Right.
Right.
But they paid, out of that money, they paid their share of FICA.
So instead of paying them
Yeah.
1,000, you increased what that amount was going to be for
Right.
taxes and made it a
Yeah.
total
Right,
of 7,000.
right. Right.
They're saying the same thing, just in two
Yes.
different ways.
Yeah. Okay, so that's done, they received it, they're thankful. The public safety, public health payroll reimbursement, we received $27,530. We could get more of that, they're still auditing that program. But on 5 and 6, we have to add, zoning in there, because Lisi is paid out of 3 departments, not 2. And then the last one, and I just took a class on this morning, and that, because there's a lot of reporting that goes along with this. This is coming from the CARES Act, and it's very specific on how you can pay for it, what you can use for it, and you have to report every quarter as to what you received and what you're doing with the funds. And for us, unlike the county, we receive the funds ahead of time and then we report it. We don't ask for the funds. And that, so I just put it down with getting a spreadsheet from Eric Samsel and going through his stuff, and then we paid the full-time fire and EMS the $1,000. So I think we should pay the full-time 5 people on our side the $5,000 hazard pay, the same way that we paid the first responders, and then give the rest, or allocate, not give it, allocate the rest to $1,460. This was for an employee's 2-week quarantine wages. $610 for personal protection supplies and equipment that EMS and fire have purchased. And then Grant has done some education on it, so $453 to get us to $7,523 that we received.
So that would be to the EMS coordinator grant, the 453?
Yeah, right, yeah, not director, coordinator.
And just to be clear, because this money was automatically sent to us.
Right.
With the CARES Act. This replaces our CVTRS money. We will not get that, and trust me, that's a lot more than what the $7,500. No?
This is 1.5 times more than what we would have gotten for the CVTRS. We would only get
Just-
like 5,000 in that. This is just for August.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
That's
it's
not
waking
August,
up in
not the whole
August,
year.
right,
Okay.
right. This isn't for the whole thing, it's just for the August payment.
That makes more sense.
That went away for August. This replaced it and we got 1.5 times what we would have gotten
For August.
for August payment.
But if this doesn't get allocated,
We lose it.
we lose it.
We have to pay it back.
reimburse it. Exactly. Exactly.
And-
And with the hazard pay, even though this isn't technically hazard pay, we're calling it hazard pay, is because we were still under a pandemic at the time. Our employees all came back to work. We were open to the public. We've been open to the public since the day they came back, which was May? I would say the second week in May. We unlocked our doors, well, yeah, we did. We've been opened and they've been working.
On the $610, I know this is what, half of it's fire, half of it EMS, what?
That will be an Eric Thompson question. I have the spreadsheet
Okay.
that they gave me, that Parker and Grant keep track of what they spend.
Okay.
And that, so that would be his call.
So I have a question. Is the 1460 and the 610 in addition to the 1,000 that they each got? So this would be,
Yeah,
This
this
was
is
their
a-
budget.
This
Okay.
is a
Here's
different
budget.
grant
okay,
than the
So
top
it's all-
one.
okay.
This is 3 different grants that we received.
okay.
Yeah, and this doesn't go directly to Grant Johnson, our
Okay.
EMS coordinator. This goes back into our EMS and fire budget.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
Because that's what they
It does?
spent.
2,
Yeah.
3, and 4, yeah.
Well, I thought we were,
No, we're not paying,
but we are the $1,000 hazard pay.
we,
Yes, for
Right.
those
So
5.
Right.
that's where it's a little confusing.
yeah.
This doesn't say to go back, it's
It
just
says,
confusing
it
because
does
it's
say, it
wages.
does say go back to EMS fire budget for employees 2-week quarantine.
Okay.
That
And then
does.
this is EMS
But
fire
it
for
says-
personal protective supplies and equipment.
And,
This
and
is-
then, to
You
cover,
forgot
EMS
budget.
wages
Yeah.
for,
Okay, very good. I understand now.
Yeah.
the top 2, number 1 and number 2, we had to request those grant funds. We had to do an application for grant money for that. Number 3 was given to us. We have to spend it according to the CARES Act, or we have to give back what we can't spend according to CARES Act.
We can spend it.
Right.
So I'm gonna go ahead and make a motion to authorize the allocation of the coronavirus relief local government grant of $7,523 that we received, and allocate it as presented tonight to the board. Items 1, 2, 3, and 4.
What about the public safety, public health one? Are we doing a different motion for that?
Well, that we have to follow
Yeah,
because that's how we wrote it in the grant.
yeah, this one's.
Well, I guess I'm looking at it, because I'm gonna be the one doing the journal entry, because that's gonna have to get moved from the CARES Act fund
Right.
to each budget accordingly. And I guess I would like some sort of motion saying, this is how we want it divided up.
Okay. And it's not how we want it divided up, it's how we wrote the grant.
Yeah, it's spelled out in the grant that we applied for.
So we can't say we can divide
Okay.
it other ways.
Yeah.
This is the way we wrote the grant.
And how we came up with that amount to apply for it.
Yeah, because it wasn't a set amount. We asked for double that, but,
You have to agree
Why not?
to what you asked for
right,
and allocate it accordingly.
right,
And had we
right,
not applied for it, we wouldn't have gotten it.
right.
Right.
So,
You're the desk here, dude.
somebody else put up.
I'm just listening.
Yeah,
All right, as long as I have something to back up
Yeah, and
what my journal
I
entry
have
is
my
gonna
grant
be.
application I can give you.
And I'm not opposed, I made the motion for the coronavirus
Right.
relief local government grant for the 7,000, and I'll make a motion.
For
this
all
one
3
too.
grants.
Will you be making a separate motion, or you do
Yeah.
do it all together?
No, we'll do them separate because they're separate.
Free money.
I get it, Brad, that it's not free money. I get that it's taxpayers' money, but,
But we're gonna pay it whether our people.
No, I understand.
yeah.
Like it
Okay, so
to
there's a motion
Saginaw
and
and we can
support.
use it.
She gave you the hand.
Who supported it?
Roll call vote, and this is again, Witzel, for the coronavirus relief local government grant, $7,523.
Items 1, 2, 3, 4.
Items 1, 2, 3, 4 to be allocated as presented.
Please. Yes. Longshine.
Yes.
Zeit.
Yes.
Terrell.
Yeah.
Campbell.
Yes.
Fitzpatrick.
Yes.
Wolfgang.
Yes.
Okay, I'll make a second motion to approve the allocation of the public safety, public health payroll reimbursement grant dollars that we received to be allocated as presented
The addition.
with the addition of adding zoning, which would be number 7. Will that make sense for everybody?
So 5 and 6
And then we'll put 7.
will equal 5, 6, and 7.
Correct.
Does that make sense?
Yes. That makes sense. Yes. You don't have to put that, yeah, so we'll add a number 7.
I support that.
Okay.
Did somebody support
I
it? Huh?
don't think so.
No.
No, you did.
Any further discussion? I just, for one, would like to say it is nice to be able to recoup some of our wages and, yeah.
Great job on the grant.
Roll call?
Kuchera.
Yep.
Fitzpatrick.
Yes.
Campbell.
Yes.
Sunshine.
Yes.
Please.
Yes.
Wolfgang.
Yes.
Zeiss.
Yes.
Okay. Do you want one for the hazard pay too?
Well, that's pretty much already done.
Do you want one? Or not
No,
gonna keep it?
I mean, it's done. I've got the payroll, so.
The only thing I wanna say about that is I would like to take and not put the excess on EMS and fire. So can we take it out of the general fund
What do you mean that?
contingency? Like, for covering the taxes?
Oh, Tracy.
Cause really, it's gonna come to more than the 13,000. Because we're covering the taxes. The payroll taxes.
Right.
So there's gonna be, I can't give you for sure, but probably between 5,000 and 7,000. You think? No?
$5,000 and $7,000 in taxes?
For, how many did we pay out? 13?
Yeah,
994.
9, that's it?
that sounds right.
13,000 times .0765, right?
Yeah.
Well, no, you got federal, you got state, you
Yeah.
got
But
FICA.
the federal and, well,
That was just for the EMS fire.
yes, but that's just
That's,
just Medicare and Social Security.
Right, you're not-
It doesn't include federal and state
right.
income tax withholding.
Did you do that all your top of your head?
Yeah.
How did you do that?
I don't know, that's just my thought, so they're not being burdened by it. But that was just my thought. Anybody else have thoughts?
I mean, I wouldn't consider it a burden since it was grant money received.
No, what I'm saying is, they received the 13,000, that's fine. But what we put on top of them,
I know, I don't do payroll, so you two, so I don't.
Okay, so Tracy figured out how much we would have to pay them
to get the $1,000
To get-
check.
it to a gross, I'm sorry, a
I
net.
get you, the
Of
net,
1,000.
So are you saying that this payroll tax come out of the general fund?
Right.
So why didn't you just come out and say that instead
I
of?
did.
She did.
So what do we just don't listen to me all the time?
And why did you go, Tracy? So what's the problem? What's the issue?
Eric's just spouting out numbers over here. It's like Rain Man.
Why did you do that? What's your thought?
Well, it's gonna entail a journal entry, which I know is no big deal, but, I don't know, I just don't, I don't like the idea.
Where else should it come from?
EMS and fire. It should have never come out of there in the first place, because the way how they were saying that 2 days after we paid it out, they came out with the rule on how to pay it out. And this is what's frustrating about government.
I understand.
It was 2 days after the deadline.
That's the only thing you've got that's frustrating about government?
Well, I mean, that's just I just didn't want to burden fire and EMS because it is going to be an expense. And because you're looking at 13 people, payroll taxes.
How big of expense?
I mean, I guess we could come back next month.
Well, it probably wouldn't be a bad idea to have a firm number.
Yeah,
of
we
what we're
can
looking
bring
at.
it, we can table it till next month and I can come back with a exact number as to what the expense would be. Cause I'm just guessing off the top of my head, 5,000 to 7,000.
I could go get the payroll right now and tell you.
What do you think? Do you want her to go get it or do you wanna table it?
I think we'll just wait until next month.
It's gonna be around $3,000.
Around 3,000?
3,250, somewhere around there. Total for all of them.
For 13 people?
And so clearly, we're gonna need a motion in support on this.
Well, we're gonna need a motion.
Yeah, you know what I mean. But you totally threw me off when you brought this up and then you went, I say that. So it's like, wait a minute, why is this now just coming up?
Well, I was just thinking, because it's gonna be a burden to the fire and EMS budget, who doesn't have a lot of wiggle room for burdens.
Okay, so what is your recommendation of how to handle this?
That we take the money from general fund
And why did you not?
contingency.
I don't like the fact that we're paying general fund or EMS and fire liabilities with general fund money. It's the whole mixing money thing.
Okay, so I guess we'll bring this back next month.
Now, I got a question. So everybody would get $1,000 bonus?
They did already. They already did.
Not the township employees.
The fire.
Just the-
No, the first responders has to pay $1,000.
Yeah,
Okay. It's like, typically if you're in a business, it's like a bonus, right? Okay. Everywhere else, if you they get $1,000. I mean, I like your idea. But other businesses, if you get $1,000, or if you got a profit share, whatever, you get $1,000 bonus, right at the end of the year, you end up paying the taxes.
right.
You're not truly getting $1,000.
Right.
Boss gives you $1,000 bonus, it still comes off at the end of the year.
Well, that's how it
Well,
was
they will.
supposed to be, but that
Right.
didn't come out until
Yeah.
after we did it.
Mhm.
Because when I talked to the auditors, the way I was understanding it being a federal grant, it said no fringe benefits or payroll taxes could be used towards this.
Got it.
So the way I was reading it, I mean, you could argue it both sides. What they meant in the end was the employer's portion of FICA could not be taken out of it.
Got it.
But it didn't spell it out like that, so when I talked to the auditors, they both agreed with me. I called the Department of Treasury, they agreed with me. We paid it out, 2 days later, MTA came out with, this is the way you're supposed to do it. So,
MTA and the treasurer.
well, the Treasury came out just recently. Even after MTA, so I mean, it's been done and said. I was just thinking of the burden we're putting upon fire and EMS for our decision. That's the only thing I'm thinking.
So you'll come back next month with a motion in hand and.
Right,
you'll-
with the
okay.
amount, yeah.
Perfect.
Couldn't we ask the treasurer to cover that?
Okay.
I have to write it down or I'll forget. Then I'll still forget. Item E. Delinquent rollover.
All right. This is the totals. I did send out the yellow reminder cards, and we have gotten quite a bit of responses today with them. So it'll be lower, but I just want to estimate, this would be on the high side of rolling it over. onto the winter taxes. And I have to tell you, from last year, delinquent water and sewer bills are a lot lower, but we haven't charged penalties. I think that's part of it. I think another part is, we got a lot of payments with people getting the extra $600 a week.
Women was too, I think.
Delinquent sewer is higher, but I think, again, there's not help for the small businesses that had to close for 6 months. The state closes them down, but they don't help them with taxes or anything. Let's take your income away for 6 months, but still pay your 80 grand in payroll taxes. I don't get it, but I'm not the governor. So, I just want to roll those over.
So did you want to make a motion?
Yes, I'll make a motion to roll over the current delinquent water and sewer bill accounts and the water special assessment and sewer assessment that hasn't been collected as of November 6th.
Support.
It's been moved and supported to roll over the delinquent water and sewer bills, water assessment and sewer assessments. What was it?
That have not
That have
been
not been
paid
paid
as
as of
of,
November 6th.
yes.
Fitzpatrick.
Wait, I'm sorry. No, I know that we wanted to have just a little bit of discussion about this before we vote on it, and just as a reminder, because it's audit time right now. The offices have been busy, Eric's office has been busy, Lisa's been busy, supplying the auditor with information. And once again, we're rolling over water bills, which we've been gigged for the last 2 years about rolling over the water bill. And this will be the 3rd year now where we've had to write a letter to the state saying we're working on changing our standard of practice. So we really have to, before this time next year, make an amendment to that water ordinance to go back to the turning on and turning off. Because this is not the standard of practice. We get a red mark every year, and again, this is our 3rd time. So we water coordinator.
And a resolution.
So everybody be thinking about that, and we have to put that on our high priority list, because it really needs to be done. Okay, now, roll call vote.
Fitzpatrick.
Yes.
Kuchera.
Yes.
Campbell.
Yes.
Landshine.
Yes.
Please.
Yes.
Seitz.
Yes.
Wolfgang.
Yes, but this is the last time I'll vote yes.
I'm not putting that on
It's my comment.
there. Is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Lynette.
Tonight or ever or?
Item F, set Kim DeLeon's wage. Kim is the billing administrator that we hired last month to come in and start doing our in-house billing. I know Eric's been working on building a billing program. And you can see in his notes that Eric recommends to, and Kim's a part-time employee, so she will not be receiving any benefits from us, but to set Kim DeLeon's wages at $21 an hour based on her billing experience and her knowledge.
I'll make a motion to set Kim DeLeon, our new billing, EMS and fire billing administrator, wages at $21 per hour, part-time with no benefits.
Support.
It's been moved and supported to approve The request of setting Kim DeLeon's wages at $21 an hour is our department billing administrator. Any further discussion? Roll call?
Kutrah,
Yep.
Wolfgang,
Yes.
Fleischheim,
Yes.
Campbell,
Yes.
Zeiss,
Yes.
Fitzpatrick,
Yes.
Please.
Yes.
Item G, approval of township general legal services with the firm of Sandy, Racine, and Doreen. If you remember a few months ago, we set up kind of a little committee to talk to Carrie Zeitz from this law firm. We did that, we did a Zoom meeting. I was involved, Tracy was involved, Jeanette was involved, the assessor was involved, and the zoning administrator. And I can't remember if the EMS director was or not, but we had a good meeting, I thought. It was pretty exciting actually to talk to her. And it's the committee's recommendation that the township go ahead and enter into an engagement with the firm of Sandy, Racine, and Doreen, with Carrie Zeitz, who will be the primary attorney of that firm representing Blair Township and legal services. So I'll go ahead and make the motion that we approve the engagement for legal services with the firm of Sandy, Racine, and Doreen.
Support.
Any further discussion?
I just want to bring up that as we were talking to her and that, she came up with the retainer and that, so that we have her, we can call her and ask her questions, or more so for the assessor and that, and anybody that's having problems, but I just like the idea of having her on retainer so that we do have a go-to person legally when we have a question, instead of wondering, you know, is it worth calling them for a couple $100 for their hour or whatever. So I really like the annual retainer and having her
I like that idea too.
on board and
As well.
And I like the frog in your throat, Tracy.
I know, I don't know where it came from, I keep drinking. But, what else was I gonna say with that? And she said that after about 6 months, she would go through and make sure that it's good for both parties, you know, that if we're not using her, she'll back down. If we seem to need her more, she'll ramp up. But I know for me, it's gonna be nice to have when I do, personal property taxes.
Well, and I know for zoning, it's gonna be amazing to be able to pick up the phone and call an attorney and run something by him and get an answer, you know, over the phone.
Right.
Which most of them will be able to, and then you can see her hourly rate in the event that we were to go into litigation or anything more complex. But, $250 a month to have an attorney available via email and phone, and Carrie came highly recommended by other townships. And when we were talking to her in the Zoom meeting, she's got 20 years of experience with municipalities. She's done personal property taxes. She's done tax tribunals, a lot of zoning and ordinance legal issues. So I'm really confident with her.
She's been a lawyer for 2 boards I've been on. It was amazing.
Mm-hmm.
She's been one of the attorneys we have for the road commission. She's our general counsel, and then when I was on Tattle Board, she was our legal counsel there after the previous one had to retire, or retired.
Yeah.
And just an amazing lady to work with, very knowledgeable, very responsive.
Yep, awesome.
And wasn't Peter Doran the previous attorney for the Traverse City Commission? He was in several years.
Well, Carrie used to.
Okay, but I know
Yeah,
Peter's-
Carrie used to represent the city, and
she's not gonna be too overly conservative on her opinion. She's gonna tell you a pretty fair,
Yep.
when she says this is what you should do. It's not being too protective or too constrictive, which I've seen some other township attorneys are.
Roll call.
Glad to see that this was done.
Zeiss,
I think I would like to abstain from voting on this. Otherwise, I'd say yes.
You're not
You
gonna
could-
gain
you-
financially.
Yeah,
but-
you-
You're right.
You can't
Yeah.
because.
Okay, yes,
Okay.
we're sure tail relations, so.
How's shirt tail?
Daughter.
Yeah.
No, but now that you brought it up, we need to clear it for the record, because in the
I
beginning,
believe-
there was no conflict of interest, and now
Yeah.
we're voting, and you have an
I-
obligation to vote.
I believe her mother and I are probably like third cousins. So,
You're not going to gain, so it doesn't matter.
no,
Zeiss,
yes.
Campbell,
Yes.
Wolfgang,
Yes.
Please,
Yes.
Fleischheim,
Yes.
Kutra,
Yes.
Fitzpatrick.
Yes.
Item H, declare Toshiba Studio 353 copy machine as surplus.
I make a motion to declare Toshiba Studio 353 copy machine as surplus.
It's been moved and supported to declare the Toshiba Studio 353 copy machine as surplus.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, discussion?
What do we get? I know it does, I just like the motion to include how we're gonna dispose of it.
Garbage?
Okay,
Dig a hole.
can that be part of the motion? And,
Township cleanup day.
yeah, not keeping it like that.
Yeah.
Well, and,
Eric had the technician look for parts and pieces and give a
Yeah.
quote to see if there was value in this old machine or not versus what it would cost for us to fix it. And he keeps, parts are exempt, they don't even make them anymore part of it, and it's not repairable.
right, I just like to say what we're gonna do with it.
Right.
We're gonna pitch it.
Yes, so that we should probably say it's not repairable.
Lynette.
Whenever you're ready.
I'm gonna send it home with you.
No.
Fitzpatrick,
Yes.
Zeiss,
Yes.
Campbell,
Yes.
Fleischheim,
Yes.
Wolfgang,
Yes.
Please,
Yes.
Kutra.
Yes.
Public input. And we're done. Meeting adjourned. 7:48.